We're on, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee for September 19th, 2016. I'm Paul Krikorian, Chair of the committee. Other members will be joining me shortly, but we're going to proceed to public comment. Mr. Spindler, come on up. You have 5 minutes total on all of your matters. You can allocate it however you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we start with item 1, City of LA versus Travelers Property Casualty, a complaint for express indemnity and declaratory relief filed by the City of LA against Travelers Property Casualty Company and the Zurich American Insurance Company. So raise your hands if you understand what I just said. Nobody understands it. It takes outside counsel at $500 to $700 an hour to understand item 1. And nobody in the LA City Attorney understands what this means. I can't understand what it means. Even the City Attorney's drawing a blank. So nobody really knows what this is all about, and basically nobody really gives a shit. So we'll move on to 2. And we have Pascual Zambrano. Yes, Mr. Zambrano, a fire department wrongful death action at the Wilmington Middle School. Somebody died. Big money. So what did the city do in this case? Just what they always do. They denied liability and would not concede liability and try the fucking case on damages. And that's why these things take forever. BC 56-5, probably a year and a half in court. So how much outside counsel fees were pissed away on that case? What a shame. But good luck to the family. I'm sure their loss, and I'm very sorry for their loss. Item number 3, LA DOT, conducting initial reviews of contested parking citations. Yes! Mr. Cody Weiss is the hero for today versus City of Los Angeles. I just got one of these fucking tickets. And so they put it on my windshield. I wrote down Cody Weiss versus City of Los Angeles. Why? I heard it on KFI the day the story broke. And now he's going to kick the ass out of Xerox Corporation because Xerox Corporation has been the motherfucker that's been finding me guilty of my tickets. All those letters I've been mailing. It's been going to Xerox. It has not been going to anybody with jurisdiction. It's been going to fucking Xerox. And that's why you have to pay for tickets when they don't sweep your street. I think that this case in Cody Weiss will be a game changer. And what will happen is now everybody knows when they get a ticket and you contest it in writing at the first instance, Xerox Corporation affirms it and they have a conflict of interest. If we had a real city attorney with any fucking brains, they would have seen this was going to happen. So I wrote down Cody Weiss and they haven't responded. 4 weeks. How come the city parking has not responded to my Cody Weiss letter? I wrote a Cody Weiss letter. Why? Because you're guilty, that's why. Thank you, Cody Weiss. Now, Independent Living Center of Southern California versus City of Los Angeles, negotiated damages and court costs. Thank you for suing this miserable fucking city of criminals. Thank you so much. Now, time to get paid. I'd like to know how much it is. Don't be afraid. Tell us how much. It's not a big mystery. There shouldn't even be a closed session item. Be proud. You're going to pay for what you did to these people, and that's good. That's very good. Now, we have a quorum now, outstanding. And that's a good thing because when you have a quorum, that means that you get paid and the decisions are final. And we have our newest member, Nuri. Nuri joining us.
Stick
Yes.
to items or else you're disrupted.
But Nuri just joined the committee.
That's not your business. Stick to the agenda.
Really? It
You have
isn't?
to leave.
Oh, we're going to get, okay. So now, on item number 6, Marriott Hotel Services, I wonder if committee member Nuri will approve the $897,000 refund. I think she wants to. And then finally, number 7, Tom Shoes has kicked the shit out of the city for a $221,000 refund. Thanks you to all the lawyers here today that are suing these disgusting fucking pigs and keep wringing their fucking necks for millions more dollars.
All right, thank you, Mr. Spindler. So we have a quorum. I'm joined by Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. Englander, and Ms. Martinez. Members, I'd like to propose items 5, 6, and 7 for consent approval. Without objection, those matters are approved. We'll now proceed into closed session. Comment on all of the closed session items 1 through 4 is now closed. All right, we're back in open session for consideration of item number 3, please.
Item number 3 is the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, or LADOT, report relative to authorization for the LADOT to hire staff and conduct initial reviews of contested parking citations.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, council members. Robert Andelon, Department of Transportation. Before you is a report requesting authority to hire 18 individuals to perform the initial review process. There was a recent court decision that went against the city that indicated that the city, as the issuing agency, was responsible for determining initial review decisions and not the processing agency, which in this case is Xerox. We've been contracting this particular service out since 1985. There was a recent amendment in the vehicle code in 1995 that changed the language that added some ambiguity to the vehicle code, and the city proceeded on that particular language rather than deferring to city employees to perform the service. As such, in 2014, there was a lawsuit filed against the city, which was upheld at the Superior Court as well as the Court of Appeal, which now mandates that the city perform this service in-house. I'm here if you have any questions.
Is there an active list from which this hiring could take place? Or
yes, there is an active list. It has approximately 500 candidates.
Okay, very good. Members, any questions on this one? Yes. All right, so if there's no other questions or concerns, on this item, which we did discuss in closed session, there was no action taken in the closed session, but what's before you now is approval of the recommendations of the Department of Transportation, and seeing no objection, that'll be the action of the committee to approve the recommendations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 4.
Item number 4 is the City Administrative Officer report and resolution relative to payment of negotiated damages and court costs in the matter of Independent Living Center of Southern California versus City of Los Angeles et al.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Maria Gutierrez with the City Administrative Officer. As indicated, this report is related to the payment of negotiated damages and court costs in the independent living case. Per the terms of the agreement, the city is required to pay the plaintiffs $4.5 million for negotiated damages and up to $1 million to the plaintiff's counsel for court costs at this time. This amount is separate from attorney's fees that have yet to be determined. The payment of the attorney's fees will be processed once the court has determined the actual amount due. The recommendations before you are to authorize a reserve fund of up to $5.5 million to the Liability Claims Fund, and along with authority for the city attorney to process these payments. A reserve fund loan will likely be requested for the attorney's fees at a later date once that amount is also known. We further recommend approval of the attached resolution, which authorizes reimbursement or a refund to the City General Fund or other city fund related to expenditures in connection with a portion of the settlement of the independent living case. This is inclusive of attorney's fees in an amount not to exceed $25.5 million, which would be repaid or reimbursed from bond proceeds, which may be issued in the future.
Okay, members, questions? Ms. Martinez?
What's the status of the reserve fund account once this payment has been made?
We have a reserve fund policy of 5%. Prior to these actions, we are at 5.16%. Should this committee approve these actions, we would be at 5.06%. That's 5.06% of the reserve fund constitutes 5.06% of the city's general fund.
Are there any other options for the outstanding balance?
As far as whether there are other options for covering this $5.5 million?
$20 million in attorney fees?
At this time, the attorney's fees is not known. So what we have is a possible threshold, and that's what's indicated in the reimbursement resolution. We will come back at a later date when those amounts are known. Potentially, we would go back to the reserve fund to advance the funds on that as well.
Mr. Linder?
Okay. So you're not asking now then for any kind of obligation bonds, or you'll come back later?
Hi, Natalie Brill, Sales Office. No, what this allows us to do is that if it's decided at a later time, based on the city's own ordinance on how to issue judgment obligation bonds, you need to ask at the time of payment whether or not you are allowed to reimburse yourself. So this basically, if at a later time you decide you want to do a judgment obligation bond, this would allow you to reimburse yourselves. But there's been no decision made. It's just, we don't want to give away that possibility just in case there are other settlements you want to add, or if something else happens, you want to make sure you have the right to reimburse yourselves.
Yeah, I'm against it. I just don't think they make a lot of sense. But, okay.
Mr. Bloomfield?
No, no. Some questions, but not appropriate for open session.
Yeah, and we're not actually even agendized to discuss the underlying litigation right now. It's just simply the payment
I'm going to just
vehicle, so.
pass.
All right. All right, is there any objection then to the recommendations before us? Seeing none, it'll be the action of the committee to approve the recommendations. Thank you very much.
And, Mr. Chair, this item is scheduled for council on Wednesday, September 21st.
Very good. Thank you. All right. There being no other business before the committee, we are adjourned.